Welcome. Welcome to Smart Practices in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And this is our first installment of a new series of video conversations about smart inclusion. And here at SmartSearch, as we've been developing our HR technology platform to support diversity outreach in recruiting and hiring, we're talking to our clients, vendor partners, industry advocates, and thought leaders about the trends, the challenges, and solutions for employers on how to create a more diverse and inclusive workplace. So it is my great pleasure to launch this series with Margarete Hester. Hello, Margaret.
Aloha.
Aloha. She is the group manager for Enterprise Holdings here in the state of Hawaii. And she's been with the company for over 25 years and brings us a wealth of experience overseeing teams in talent acquisition, talent development, and as an HR generalist. And she's worked in both the US and Canada throughout her career with Enterprise and travels throughout the islands of Hawaii and has been heavily involved with the company's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and initiatives. This is how I know you, right, Margaret? We worked together on some of the SHRM Hawaii programs about learn and produce some learning events. And I understand, didn't we connect through your affiliation with the Diversity In or Disability In? Right? Was it Gwen that put us in touch?
Yes.
And I understand you're also a patient advisor for Kaiser Permanente's, what do they call it? Person and family centered care?
Mm-hmm. The PFCC.
Okay, excellent. But today we're going to talk about women in the workplace, which obviously as women in the workplace is a topic near and dear to my heart. So why don't you start by just sharing some of your thoughts about the population of women in the workplace?
So, you know, it's been pretty interesting. I mean, everything that we have dealt with over the last 12 to 24 months has been crazy. But even the differences from 2020 to 2021, we've seen a decrease in women in the workplace. Previously, it was around 59% for 2020. We're about at 57% for 2021. And it's even more amazing if you look at the big Fortune 500 companies, only 8% are women that are CEOs. Mm-hmm. So we are not where we need to be. We still have a lot more that we need to do, but you know, the conditions have changed and life has changed as we know it, and what we are used to versus what we're dealing with now. You hear people keep talking about the new normal. You know, I don't know what the new normal means. With women coming back into the workplace, it's them trying to figure out how they're going to balance what they have at home, what their new situations look like versus what it did pre-pandemic, and if they're able to give that full-time status coming back into the workplace. Some people are only coming back part-time. Some are not coming back at all because of the responsibilities that they have. So, you know, we have seen a decrease in women coming back right now. Hopefully we'll be able to turn that around in 2022 as things change and see more women coming back.
Yeah, I was just reading an article in, I think it was Bloomberg. They said, where have all the women gone, right? And it said something to the effect that women have borne the brunt of the pandemic and the economic, you know, hardship. And I'm thinking, this is news to you? Like women have borne the brunt of every economic hardship since Adam had a rib removed, right? So like, and she was homeschooling, you know, Cain and Abel or whatever. So I feel like, yes, who's surprised by this, right? Who's surprised by this? So what challenges do you feel women are really facing to now that, you know, the pandemic has set them back? Like, how are they going to progress in their careers?
You know, it's interesting because this is something that is even pre-pandemic. is women trying to figure out that balance between confidence and cockiness. And I say this because when you're looking at a room full of people and you've got men and you've got women, when men are, yes, that's a great idea. Oh, yeah, this is the thing. Oh, he's confident in what he's saying. But then when a woman does the exact same thing, it's like, wow, she thinks she knows everything. She's so cocky. And it's amazing at how the gender plays into the way that people receive it. Because by nature, women are very nurturing. Women think a lot more before they speak. They want to make sure that they've done the research. They know exactly how the pieces fit together. By nature, men are a little more aggressive and they push through and they don't care who's in the way. So for women coming into the workplace, especially when we're talking about getting promoted, getting to the C-suite, they have to have that confidence in themselves, and they also need to know that it's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to disagree, to stand up for what you believe in, and that your voice can be heard. So one of the things that I notice when I go to different businesses and I'm dealing in different meetings with women is I observe a lot and I watch the interaction and I watch how do the managers react when women speak up. And it's amazing that some managers, and I mean male managers, are very open and they're like, great, it doesn't even hesitate. And then other times I see people just stop and it's like, oh, is she having a bad day? What is this all about? So it's trying to make sure that women feel confident in what they're saying and being able to have that seat at the table. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. You know where else we see it that to me it's most apparent is Congress. Like you look at how many, representatives we have now in our government and seeing the reactions of the men of having to, when women speak up, right? We've seen this again and again in the news that it is perceived a lot differently by their coworkers, right? By the media, and so on. So that's a really excellent point. I think women in leadership positions, they got to walk that line, right? Between confidence and cockiness. And
and the big thing about it is it's okay to sit back and observe. You don't always have to go totally silent, but you don't always have to fill the void. Just sometimes sit back and observe and watch the interactions between people and how they communicate with each other, because that also will tell you a lot about, where you fit in.
That's good advice for anyone, right? Whether you're a woman or whoever you are. I like to say, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and they should be used proportionately. Right?
Absolutely.
So I think all of us should listen a little more than we talk.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to the pandemic and talk about what are your thoughts on how the pandemic has really affected women in the workplace?
Well, it's thrown a lot of people for a loop, just because between having to care for people in your household, because specifically in Hawaii, a lot of households are multi-generational. So, COVID does not have anybody's name on it. Anyone can get it. And having to take care of whether it is your mom, your dad, your children, your siblings, it's everywhere. So it's affected women, especially. Think about all the kids that were out of school. Some of the kids are still not back in school full time, even though most of the schools are open. Some are still doing a hybrid. So trying to balance what they need to do at home versus going into the office, because unfortunately, not all jobs are remote. Some jobs you have to go to a brick and mortar in order to get it done. So you have that piece of it where they have to take care of someone else. Another part of it is people are scared. People are afraid, especially if you have a customer facing position, of catching it themselves.
Yeah, especially there at Enterprise, which is right out there with the world and the travelers, right, that are
And that's
coming.
why the protective, the PPE and making sure that you're taking care and sanitizing, that's why it's so important. And that everyone is wearing a mask and you do the 6 foot distancing, regardless of, when people come in from different states and, well, we don't have to do that in our state. Well, you know what? You're not in your state. You're in our state.
Right.
So respect our rules, respect our culture, and just put on your mask and stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah,
so
very, very true. Very true. You got to, well, that applies to anywhere that you travel, right?
Absolutely.
Like, why are you going if you're going to bring, your baggage, so to speak, right? You want to go and experience someplace else. So you really should respect the way that the people at your destination do things. And Hawaii has been kind of fortunate in some ways, keeping the COVID under control. Okay, well, this has been great. So with everything that we've discussed about women in the workplace, do you have any suggestions on how companies and employers can better support women in their workplaces?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. First of all, get a mentor, whether it is a formal or an informal mentor, someone that is going to be able to support you in your career and help you in your job, someone who will be a cheerleader for you. And, it doesn't have to be a man. It doesn't have to be a woman. It can be someone you respect, regardless of what their gender is. But having a mentor of someone who's going to be neutral, that will help you to build your confidence and help you get to that next level. That is a very big key in moving up. Another piece would be companies can establish employee resource groups, or ERGs. And one they could do is based on women, where they look at, okay, so what obstacles are you facing? What can we do to overcome these obstacles, and have those conversations in a safe place? It doesn't mean, again, that you don't include men in those conversations. You can, but women need to have a safe place where they can come out and they can speak freely. So you would have to gauge that by the employees in your company. And then the last piece I wanted to throw out there is, one of the other things that has affected a lot of people because of the pandemic is mental wellness. And we need to be able to have those conversations and to let people know it's okay to talk about it. And companies should be promoting their EAPs, employee assistance programs. And here in Hawaii, we have the Hawaii 211 line that you can call for free referrals to get assistance, because the mental health challenges that people have been facing, it's hard. And people think that it's a sign of weakness to admit, I'm struggling with this, but it's actually a sign of strength.
And yeah, well, the stress and the burnout, that's like a whole nother topic of the great resignation that's been going on, and why some women have decided to just leave the workforce because it's just too much that has been piled on. So I think the aspect of mental health is very, very valid, that it's okay to speak up. That certainly applies to everybody. Absolutely. But when women have just been piled on, between their home and their family and so forth. I think you and I talked about that one SHRM speaker that we had. She spoke about the iceberg, when you come into work, you're the tip of the iceberg, but you still have the rest of that iceberg underneath you. So here's your work persona, but underneath the waterline, you've got, your family responsibilities, your financial stressors, your spouse's situation, your mother-in-law, whatever has been going on, right? And your own mental health and physical health, especially in these times. So that is awesome. Margaret, I can't thank you enough for joining me today and kicking off this series of conversations, because you always have such great wisdom.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to chat with you, because I always love doing that.